did it wrong, of course, and I want to say don't do this, but because like you can go through the practice problems and then like not understand like how you were doing something in the like solutions, and then you'd have to go through and try to find the lecture on it. And I mean, that's not too much time, but like a better part would be like going through the lecture and then going to back to the practice problems from the study guide
Right.
along with the quizzes at the end.
Hi, Blake. How's it going?
Hey, Wasim.
It's good to have you back. You passed your FE exam in the first attempt and then dived into your PE power and then got the PE power done in first attempt as well.
Yeah, I'm very relieved. I'm so excited and looking forward to how it'll help me in my career.
That's great. So, Blake, you passed your FE exam when we actually did the interview. So, I'm going to include the link of your FE interview in this as well. But when did you pass your FE?
I passed it
November?
around
December.
December 6th, 2021.
Okay, so
Or
December 6th.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that you took a month off or something, and then you enrolled in my PE Power course in January, mid to
Yeah,
late January.
January or February, took
Right.
Christmas and New Year's and all of January off to
Yeah,
recover in.
yeah, that's good. And then you recently took your PE Power exam in June, right?
June 21st. Yeah.
June 21st. So when did you properly start your PE Power exam preparation?
I'd say I started like really studying around March. So it was a good March, April, May, June, a good 4 months of studying.
Hmm.
But the last month was the most intense part.
Yeah, that's always the case. So so the interesting thing about you, Blake, is that you're a computer engineer, right? Through your education, you did 4 years of undergraduate in computer engineering, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And your career sort of took you in a path where you are dealing more with power systems, renewables, and you decided to then pursue PE power. So
Yes.
which is quite impressive. So what were the challenges that you faced with your PE
Well,
power exam preparation?
well, for the more like electrical engineering degree backgrounds, like they introduce you to like power systems, but I only had like one class over power systems, and it was more so like low voltage stuff. And while there are like low voltage applications on the PE power, it was like being introduced to all that different types of language and protection and relaying. That was like the most hard part about it, is just like what does this do and how does it correlate with the whole power system.
Yeah.
So
So is it fair to say that, codes and standards, your induction motor, your induction machines, your synchronous machines, transmission line models, protection, coordination, all of that you primarily learned from the course and the study guide?
yes.
Okay.
I think, I
How's that
mean,
experience?
yeah, I mean, so I had NEC experience with my job, so that was like it was more understandable than the rest of the part, but um just having to learn things from scratch was like very difficult starting out, but definitely the way you laid it out was very helpful on a just a step-by-step like incremental part. And you hit, I like the way the time flows, because like by the time you hit the induction and synchronous machine, you kind of have an understanding of just previous uh the the circuit applications in section 2
Mhm.
that allow you like for the like the rectifier and starting circuits like are more understandable than not.
Right. And you in section 2, I also like the way that they've laid out the specification for P power, by the way, because in section 2, right up front, they basically expect you to go through three-phase circuits, single-phase circuits, per unit analysis, symmetrical components. So all the tools and tricks they expect you to actually learn them in section 2 before moving into section 3, as you pointed out, because in section 3 you start getting into the equivalent circuits, right, with induction motors, with synchronous motors, machines, transformer equivalent circuits. And then further on in section number 4, when you're dealing with transmission models, it all adds up. uh, and as I mentioned in my live training as well, you attended, I would say, majority of the live training classes as well. I mentioned that it's really at fault analysis where everything comes together. You have symmetrical components, you have per unit systems, you have three-phase systems. Everything comes together in fault analysis. So I actually really enjoy teaching PE power. I enjoy teaching FE electrical as well. FE electrical, obviously you need to overcome that step before you get to PE power, but I'm a power systems engineer with considerable experience. Most of my time has been spent in power systems engineering. So I really love that. So in terms of the exam preparation, Blake, which resources did you use? So you use my on-demand course. You also use the live training, right? You use a study guide. You mentioned you use some of the practice exams at the end as well, right? And
Yes.
so how did each one of those resources help you?
You know, this exam is all about like the practice problems, and so your whole study guide was perfect because you had enough problems that built upon each other.
So that's
Yes,
this one. Yeah.
exactly. It's thick. It's a lot of material, and it's exactly what you need for going through each section and understanding what you're going to be tested on and like how to go about solving it. um like you said, they do all like build upon each other, but how? And you do a great job like building up all the resources, like you summarized a little bit ago. um you have to but you have to use them like with each other, like
Right.
just having going through the practice problems. And
No.
I always found myself like I did it wrong, of course, and I want to say don't do this, but because like you can go through the practice problems and then like not understand like how you were doing something in the like solutions, and then you'd have to go through and try to find the lecture on it. And I mean, that's not too much time, but like a better part would be like going through the lecture and then going to back to the practice problems from the study guide,
Right.
along with the quizzes at the end, just to like
Yeah, make it
synthesize
smooth.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I've designed it such that, okay, I've designed it so that you go to the lectures, understand the theory, go through the practice problems that I explained, you then do the quiz on your own, and then those sections you'll also see mini exams and then the problem sets in the study guide. By the time you actually combine all of those four components and then throw the live training on top of that as well, if you're enrolled in the live training as well, on a weekly basis, we basically do a review of all the topics. So within, I would say, 3 to 4 months, maximum of 5 months, you should be exam ready. In
Yeah.
your case, like you only ended up spending like what, 3.5 months maximum,
Yeah.
right,
I
of
mean,
proper studying?
and there's those first 2 months were just like in like 4 hours a week.
Really?
So it wasn't even like a lot. It was just like okay, I need to even like I need to schedule the exam.
Yeah.
Like I didn't schedule the exam until like April, I think. And
Really?
so um then it became crunch time, then it became real, and then yeah.
Yeah. I always recommend students to schedule the exam ASAP. I mean, if you have a strict high deadline to work with, generally speaking, psychologically, it just makes everything clearer, right?
Yeah, having
Um,
having that boundary and that like dedicated space.
Exactly. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about your weekly schedule. Like, so you started at 4 hours per week, right? A very, you were in the first gear at just getting warmed up. So how did that progress? And you said that the last month was really the crunch time where you were really intensely studying. So what was that
Yeah,
evolution like?
the evolution was like, I would I would wake up, and then on my commute sometimes I would like listen to your videos. Like I mean, you don't recommend that to anyone
I
because
don't.
it's maybe like I don't know, you can't like do multitask and like really
Yes.
understand things. I thought I could like maybe like let it get into my conscious and like understand it then, but
Hmm.
I found myself having to repeat videos time and time again. But during and so sometimes I would study over my lunch break at work, and just like go over like a little lecture and then study problems. And then right, it was like a full, it was like another job almost,
It
because
is. It's a part-time job. Yeah.
because after work, it was the last thing I wanted to do, having like worked an engineering job all day, like using my brain. Now I have to like study. And so I would do like 3 or 4 hours after
Yeah.
work. Um, and sometimes it went to midnight. Sometimes it went to like 11 p.m. And it was hard. I had to like sacrifice friends. I would do the live weekly training on the weekend. Like I would wake up, attend the training, and then just like do practice problems and practice exams all day.
Yeah.
I don't think everyone has to do it, but your course allows me to, the content was enough to where if I wanted to do that, I could. And that's what worked for me.
Yeah. So to be quite honest, I would say that everyone should be ready to do it. Maybe not everyone will have to do make these sacrifices, but generally speaking, this is a question that I've recently been asking all of my students, especially the PE Power students. Like, what were the sacrifices that you had to make over the course of your exam preparation? And this is a very typical answer. And I like to hear this answer because those of you who are thinking of getting the P power exam done, or even for the FE electrical exam done, just realize that you'll have to make some trade-offs. Okay, so you'll have to sacrifice, as you pointed out, a little bit of social activities. One of the interviews I recently did, my P power student is like, he's really into fitness. Okay, and his gym routine is really, really important to him, and he had to cut it down by 50%. No friends, no nothing for many months. But then he's on my LinkedIn, and I basically saw that he got promoted within just a matter of few weeks after passing his P power exam, and that is something that's going to serve you for the rest of the life, right? So make that conscious decision that there are going to be sacrifices that you'll have to make along the way. The way that you can sort of help yourself is by making sure that you're investing your time and effort using the good exam preparation resources. And I'm not trying to promote my exam prep resources, but just think about a scenario where you're using resource A, which is sort of spinning you in circles. You're making a little bit of progress, but it frustrates you. You come across multiple errors, and then you start doubting whether it's useful or not, and whether whatever you're studying is relevant or not, right? And by the time you figure it out, you've already spent like maybe like 2 months, 2.5 months into it, and then you have to now step back and think about something else, right? As compared to something that is proven, that works, that has good reviews, and that helps you with your learning style and takes you from point A to point B. Granted, they're going to be hiccups, right? So you started with zero power systems background, and you're still able to get it done, right? With no background, and like you mentioned that you basically learned the language, right? And when we had our chat earlier, you mentioned that at work as well, you're starting to feel more comfortable and more confident because things that you're coming across, you're now able to relate to that.
Exactly. And just to go back a little bit about, yeah, you can spin your wheels like if you, because there's so much content on the internet about this. And there's a lack of like content too. Because like you can go to YouTube and type in like current transformer relaying and stuff, but like it's
Yeah,
not applicable to the PE. Like there's a certain type of like like you can read like those like wild books and all the like kind of the references that they do in the handbook, but without like the structure of like a course or just like understanding what's going to actually be on it, like you can spin your wheels so much.
yeah.
um
And one thing that I like to remind students always is that the PE Power exam up until 2 years ago was an open book exam.
yeah,
Okay, so it has transitioned to a closed book, just like the FE exam. There's a reference handbook. You cannot bring in any material, but I still feel that there is a level of expectation when it comes to the PE exam that you need to know, some assumed knowledge. There's certain things that you're expected to know because you're taking this exam after a few years out of school. You have some hands-on exam, industry experience. So if somebody like you, Blake, with zero experience in power systems, is trying to get this done right away, right after passing his FE exam, then how do you account for those gaps? And that's where having a well-structured program comes into play, where I not only walk you through knowing that okay, you have a power systems background, but also I have to use my own judgment and try to sort of help you with a little bit of background, in-depth background. And I brought this up several times during our live training, where I tell students that listen, some of these lectures are half an hour long because I'm deriving the equations for every single fault analysis, single line to ground, double line to ground, line to line, right? I actually ended up deriving the entire equation, right? You would be hard pressed to find those derivations in the manner that I basically explained to you elsewhere. And the reason is that even if you know about fault analysis, right, very few students who have been out of school for 5 years would be able to remember all the steps as to how we got to that point. And by going through that, even if you have taken those courses, you will actually be able to get a 360-degree in-depth understanding of a complex abstract topic like fault analysis.
Yeah. Um, the fault analysis was, yeah, those lectures were great. And like the main point about that is just kind of remembering, going step by step. So if they throw different kind of um tweaking the problem a little bit, then you have those skills to do it. But
Yes,
then yeah, just remembering those equations at the end is crucial.
exactly. Okay. And how has passing the P power exam helped you at your job so far, Blake?
You know, I transitioned from a design engineer to kind of an owner's engineer, basically more a reviewing of designs. So it's helped me in the sense that like now I can I can follow like a substation design better.
Mhm.
Um, but it's all it's kind of like an expectation that like I'll become easy, my job will become easier, but that's just not the case. It has become easier, but nothing, the PE has become more just like a rite of passage, an
Yeah,
entry into the seriousness of being an engineer. Um,
nice.
so it's helped me overall, and
Yeah. Well, it will continue paying you dividends down the road because you got it done pretty early, right? How many years you are out of school?
uh, one year.
1 year. Okay. So
And
there's, yep.
And yeah, I that's what I was gonna say. I'm kind of like the ideal case. Like ideally you want to like pass the FE like 6 months out after graduating and
Yes,
then go straight into the PE. It's not like not a lot of people do it, but that's what I would recommend. It's in just not having that like pressure for the
for
next
sure.
like 3 or 4 years in my career is like I can already see it paying the dividends. But
Exactly.
for people that want to go back and like have been out of school for 4 years, like your content like is like manageable to like do that and easy enough. Like it's not math intensive. It's super conceptual. The FE is a lot more like calculus, like you'll see calculus problems, whereas like the only calculus problems will be on the circuits single wave rectifier analysis type stuff. So
Right. So that's great. Again, many congratulations to you, Blake, on passing this. And you got two very difficult exams done. Probably the two most difficult exams that a practicing engineer will ever take in his or her career. So you got them done, within 1 year being out of school. Okay, and without the power systems engineering background. So kudos to you for your commitment, and I'm sure that it will get recognized over the coming years. Your employers current, and if you decide to sort of move on, everybody in the industry is going to recognize as well. So many congratulations.
Thank you, Asim.